Here comes Tony, walking in the room, mic in hand, something's about to boom. Tell me what you gotta say. Tell me, make it count today. Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks. Sit right down, let me hear your voice. Share your thoughts, Tony gives you choice. Tell me what you gotta say. Tell me, make it count today. Your voice speaks, Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks, Big Tony speaks. He's got something to say every single day. He's got something to say. Come on out and play. Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks, Big Tony speaks. Big Tony, Big Tony speaks.
What is going on, everyone? I hope you're having a great day this fine Monday. And on this day, we're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. But we're going to talk about mainly, right off the bat, as soon as we get into it, the manufactured boogeyman of white supremacy. And I have an article about that I will share with you momentarily. But before we do me a favor, go down below and hit that thumbs up, like the like button, whatever you want to call it. And if you're not already following the channel, please do hit that follow button or subscribe button, whatever it is on your platform. And turn on those notifications so you know when I come on, which, by the way, is Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that being said, let us get into this thing. Before I do, real quick, I want to address real quick. I know I share some viewers with Empty Pockets podcast, James over there. He's having some health issues, and I want you all to pray for him and pray that he'll have a speedy recovery and be back at 100% very soon. So if y'all would do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Anyway, now into the show. Come on. There we go. I apologize, by the way, for being over a half hour late. Normal issues, and then I had a delivery at the same time while I'm getting frustrated trying to get through the issues with Romo Studio, and I apologize for being late. That's where I will, cut that off right there. Y'all do me a favor, get in a chat and talk to me. I am sure you all have opinions about this. Okay, let me make a little adjustment to my screen. It's not going to do a whole lot. Um, it's yours, but my screen is kind of weird right now. Okay, okay, I think that's better. All right, this is an opinion article, and I kind of agree with a lot of the opinion involved in this article. So that's why I included it. By the way, this article is from the Washington Times. So many people say that I rely solely upon certain publications, and that is not the case. It just happens to be that certain publications tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but generally, when I go on, I'm talking about subjects that most of your larger content creators in this space don't even get to for another week, 2 weeks, sometimes even I've seen as far as a month out, and they post a whole lot more than I do. One in particular, I'm not going to name names, but he um, he posts crap tons of videos every day, and is consistently at least a week behind me reporting any uh, pretty much any subject. So I mean, and this guy's got millions of followers. You know, I want to be ahead of the curve as much as I can be, or at least right there, you know, right there in the curve as it's happening. So that's that's what I try to do. So if I seem like I'm solely depending on one or two news agencies or whatever to provide content, it is absolutely not the case. It just happens that some are a little bit more on the ball than others, and I go with the ones that are telling the facts about something that I choose to talk about. So and sometimes I know you all will remember many times that I have simply just shown posts on X, for my content. Bunch of posts on X. It's wherever I can get the most up to date information. You know, so, but darn these Rumble overlords. They're shining that light at me, and they want me to take a shekel break already. So just bear with me while I get through this. You've probably noticed Rumble is growing fast, and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now here is Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Rumble Premium, you get ad free viewing across the platform. No pre rolls, no interruptions, just the content you came for, with the exception of the occasional ad read like this one. Um, Plus, premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind the scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. Stuff that you will not see at all if you don't have premium. Now, most of your content creators do put out special content that is only for premium members. So you get that added benefit. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code studio at checkout. That's rumble.com/premium and use promo code studio at checkout. Um, no ads, more freedom, and content that you actually care about. That is the deal. That's the deal that Rumble is offering you. And that is the deal that I am talking about today. Just go to rumble.com/premium, use the QR code on the screen, or, the link is down in the description. Just go down into the description and click on that link and get your Rumble premium package today. Okay. So as I said, they had to make me take a shekel break. They just came on there with that little light, and they told me time to take care. So anyway, that's right, Marilyn. It's shekel break. Um. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. Joseph R. Biden launched his 2020 presidential bid on the promise to restore the soul of America. He doesn't have a soul himself. How is he going to restore the soul of America? But he used the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, as his motivation for jumping into the race. I quote, it was in Charlottesville in August of 2017 that we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo Nazis come out in the open, Mr. Biden recalled in his debut video in 2019. Quote, their crazed faces illuminated by torches, veins bulging and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. Now, pretty dramatic, ain't it? That's a really dramatic quote, right? Quote, the core values of this nation, our standing in the world, are very democracy. This is not a democracy, it's a republic. Everything that has made America, America is at stake. That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. I'm surprised that he remembered what he was running for. There was a stop on his campaign trail where he introduced himself as Joseph R. Biden, candidate for Senate. Throughout his presidency, Mr. Biden consistently referred to white supremacy as, quote, the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland, and it is not. Um, Under his tenure, the Department of Justice significantly increased its focus on domestic terrorism with a particular emphasis on racially motivated violent extremists. Whistleblowers within the FBI alleged that the Biden administration pressured agents to label cases as domestic extremism to meet internal quotas, often without sufficient evidence. They didn't really have the evidence, but they were being pressured to still pursue these cases as, quote, domestic extremism, terrorism, by the Biden administration. The entire justification of Mr. Biden's presidency was based on the boogeyman of white supremacy. Without it, there was no substance. So the left found it and funded it. If it's not there, let's create it, is what they said. Let's pay for it. Let's pay some people. Every man has his price, so they say. We just got to find the right price and the right people. This week, The Southern Poverty Law Center, which worked hand in glove with Mr. Biden's Justice Department to combat domestic terrorism. uh, Something just happened with my page, and I don't know what. Here we go. Here we go. Um, this week, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which worked hand in glove with Mr. Biden's Justice Department to combat domestic terrorism, was alleged to have paid one of those Charlottesville rally organizers no less than $270,000 from 2015 to 2023. The person, identified as, quote, F-37 in the indictment, used SPLC's help to create, quote, racist postings and, quote, coordinate transportation to the Charlottesville event for several attendees. Okay, it glitched again. Where is it? There it is. Okay, before the rally, SPLC published a map of Confederate monuments likely to spark, quote, turmoil and bloodshed. These could be found on many military bases and at high schools and middle schools. Liberals then used the map to organize protests, many of which turned violent, resulting in those monuments being knocked down. One could surmise that the chaos that ensued in Charlottesville was funded, planned, coordinated, and executed by SPLC, and that the organization reaped the rewards. After the rally, SPLC's public support revenue net assets tripled. They tripled. Its revenue before the rally was $51 million. A year later, it had ballooned to $133 million. From 2014 to 2023, SPLC paid more than $3 million to at least 8 people working inside of groups such as the Ku Klux Klan and the National Socialist Movement. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche alleges. Some of the money used in these endeavors was disguised through fake businesses. Quote, SPLC was doing the exact opposite of what it told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it, Mr. Blanche said at a press conference Tuesday. The investigation into the SPLC's informant I wish my page would quit glitching. SPLC's informant program originated under a previous administration, but was shut down by the Biden administration, he said. During that period, the organization worked with Mr. Biden's Justice Department to stoke Mr. Biden's race based hate agenda. One of SPLC's attorneys was appointed to a top federal judgeship. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division often met with SPLC to consult on cases it identified as hate crimes. The FBI's Richmond office would go on to cite SPLC in a memo that outlined the threat of, quote, radical traditional Catholics. We all remember this part, right? The persecution of the Catholic Church. In 2022, SPLC worked with PayPal to decide which, quote, extreme groups to remove from its service. After Mr. Biden's White House received a letter from the National School Boards Association asking his administration to treat concerned parents as, quote, domestic terrorists, SPLC put parental rights groups such as Moms for Liberty on its, quote, hate map and gave his Justice Department early access to that report. Then in 2024, after Mr. Biden dropped out of his re-election race, Kamala Harris picked up the mantle and falsely accused Donald Trump in a debate of coddling white supremacists. She used the Charlottesville example. It was exactly 1 month after she received an endorsement from SPLC, the group Mr. Trump's Justice Department now claims planned, organized, and paid for the rally. So, what do you all think? Do you think that the so-called white supremacy, terrorism, domestic extremism was organic or manufactured? I believe it was 100% manufactured, and I believe that largely, not solely, but largely, the Southern Poverty Law Center was behind the manufacture of said white supremacy. Because I'm Gen X, and coming up through the decades, we came to a point where, and even before all of this started up, it was the country was at a point where nobody really cared what color you were at all. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were nice to me. I'm nice to you. Nobody gives a crap what color you are. What your ancestry was. You know, nobody cared. And then of course, because there wasn't enough division going on, and more people were becoming more united, as time went on, because nobody cared, about the divisions and everything. Well, the left had to create some division, because without that, they can't even come close to winning an election of pretty much any kind. you know, that is their default setting, is more racism. It's period. That's their default setting. If they can't get any headway on any of the other talking points that they have, they default right back to more racism. You know, so it is, in my opinion, 100%, a left wing manufactured, funded by the Southern Poverty Law Center and other organizations. They were not alone in this, but they were a very large part of it, in my opinion. So, you all tell me in the chat, what is your opinion? What do you believe in regards to this? And what do you believe about the Southern Poverty Law Center? Should we find some way to put them out of business, to defund them, to render them no longer relevant? Um, I think so. I think we should, because they're a detriment to our society, in my opinion. They are a net negative. You look at things in this world as, is this a net positive or is this a net negative? And Southern Poverty Law Center is most definitely, in my opinion, a net negative. So What say you all in regards to this? While you all are thinking of your brilliant comments and opinions, because of course my viewers are, very intelligent and good smelling and bright shiny people. Of course they are. You know, you'll have some awesome comments and replies. While you're coming up with those comments and replies, I am going to go ahead and move on to our next article. This one from Joe Hoft on his website. And Tina Peters is out of prison. She was released. Tina is out of prison. Quote, it's been quite the ordeal, but I really want to thank God for his faithfulness and for getting me through it. It's a miracle. And here is her first interview since being out. Right here. I'll go ahead and play that for you all.
Tina, tell us what's it like to be finally a free woman?
Steve, I'm not even sure yet. After 606 days in prison, it's been quite the ordeal. But I really want to thank God for His faithfulness and getting me through it. And it's been, I think, probably for me, Steve, to impress upon every person out there how hard it is to lose your liberty, how easy it is to lose your liberty, but how hard it is to endure it. And, and I'm so grateful to the supporters out there that have stood with me. My close circle, Marcy, my best friend, who I called every day. After they kept putting me in the hole, she made me promise to call her in the morning and at night every day. So people that wanted to get me a message could always reach her. And of course, with Apollo and Jared and Barbara and the other ones that have stood by me, and especially my attorneys. John Case has visited me almost every week while I was in prison, and then the financial support. I still have a fight to go. I still, even though Governor Polis reduced my sentence from 9 years to 4.5 years, I still have a fight to clear my name and bring out the truth of why they came after me the way they did. So it's still a long road. I'm going to spend the next few weeks regaining my health and just being in with loved ones and family. And it's a miracle. It really is for Jared Polis. He pardoned 35 people and he gave clemency to 9, and I was one of the 9. And you see the horrible media and the haters that don't go after murderers and people like that he chose to pardon, but they go after me. So there is a concern there for my well-being and my safety. But I'm just very, very grateful to all of you. Thank you, Steve, for standing through with me through all of this.
Okay. Very quickly to Slim Chick. I don't know if you heard it at the top of the show, but to answer your question, James is having some health issues, and he is getting them checked out today. And hopefully he will. We're all praying for him, and you should too, for a speedy recovery, and that he will be back to 100% and back on the internet ASAP. But that is why he has not been on, online on the air, as it were. Um, he wasn't on Panic and Rehab this morning. He contacted me around 5 this morning and told me that he was having some health issues and was going to go today to have those issues checked out and find out what exactly is going on. He has some ideas of what it may be, but I won't go into those because those aren't confirmed by a doctor. Um, but hopefully, I will hear from him soon, and hopefully, he'll be getting better as quickly as possible. So just pray for him, and I will as well, and hopefully everyone else will as well. So, okay, back to the show. Okay, yeah, you remember Tina Peters was she was persecuted for trying to stand up for election integrity, which just shows you how corrupt the left wing government there is, and left wing government in general. Um, they are totally corrupt. Um, Now, is it possible that maybe something she did was improper in trying to expose the election fraud and etc. Maybe. However, you know, a a government that um, claimed to have the most secure elections ever should be more than willing, when someone is trying to expose fraud, more than willing to at least hear them out and um, look into said election fraud and etc. And you know and kind of look past the small improprieties that could possibly have been perpetrated in revealing the fraud, because it's more important that the fraud be revealed than sticking to every tiny little letter of the rules of elections, etc. If breaking a small little policy, not even a full blown law or rule, will expose a serious issue with the elections, then so be it. In my opinion, that's we have to fight to keep our elections secure. Otherwise, what are we doing? Why are we even having elections if they're not secure? So I applaud Tina Peters for her actions in trying to reveal the election improprieties, the fraud, and I wish her luck, and you know, and God's blessings upon her attempts to clear her name and continue to expose the fraud. So I am happy for her that she has been released from prison, but she still has a very steep uphill climb ahead of her. Okay, so up next. This one is from the Gateway Pundit. Um, Leftist thug receives instant karma after getting violent with New Jersey State Police during anti-ICE protests. Quote, quote, they shot me through my D. Okay. Try to keep it a little family friendly, not pronounce the word that is there. And here is a shot of so-called anti-ICE protesters demonstrating in Times Square in New York City. Just look at the picture. Does that really look organic to you? It's his hoo-ha. Yeah, that is true. Leftist protesters don't have D's. They have the other thing. That's why in that cache of supplies that got dropped and nobody claimed, that Nick Sorter found, there were large quantities of Tampax. So, and there were, yeah. I'm actually not joking about that, but it is still funny. But does this picture look organic to you? These professionally, what's going on, loaded? Hope you're doing well as well. All these professionally printed signs, and I guarantee you, if you were to take this picture and compare it with pictures of other protests, you will see some of these same characters, in those pictures as well. We have a sea of pre-manufactured signs and etc. here in this picture of a protest in Times Square in New York City. But what we're talking about is not New York City, it is New Jersey. An anti-ICE agitator received a harsh lesson after deciding to get rough with New Jersey State Police during a protest. On Saturday night, independent journalist Olia Scootercaster was on scene at the Delaney Hall ICE detention facility in Newark, which has been the site of multiple leftist riots over the past several days. Now, I want to reiterate something that I've been saying for forever. You absolutely 100% do not have the right to protest. I'm going to say that again. You do not have the right to protest. What you have is the right to peacefully assemble to redress your grievances to the government. You do not have the right to protest. You most certainly don't have the right to riot in any way, shape, or form. You absolutely do not have the right to break the law. And if you're throwing things at law enforcement, if you're getting violent with law enforcement, if you are preventing the movement of law enforcement, you are breaking the law, and you do not have a right to do so in any way, shape, or form for any reason. Now, having said that, I'll continue with this article. That's right. You don't have the right to protest, and you most certainly don't have the right to riot. And these protesters are well provided for, as the Gateway Pundit reported, as well as many other independent journalists and journalists with other news agencies have discovered, over and over repeatedly. They are supremely well funded, well supplied, well coordinated. Many of them are bussed in from other locations. Independent journalist Nick Sorter, I have talked about him on numerous occasions, and in this story, most certainly we'll talk about him because he plays a prominent role. Independent journalist Nick Sorter, who blew the lid off years of taxpayer abuse at the hands of Somali fraudsters, infiltrated an Antifa camp at the Newark, New Jersey ICE protests. As he moved through the camp, he found tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, food, and even riot gear. Hot meals are delivered every hour. Clearly, there's a massive shadowy infrastructure behind the movement that is providing the funding for all of this. Well, believe me, these so called protesters are getting well paid. I've seen many ads looking for protesters to join in some of these organic protests, offering huge sums of money per day, plus food and lodging and things like that added in as benefits. You know, so when one combines this with the open encouragement of Democrat politicians to bully ICE agents, it's no wonder that Antifa is so emboldened. One agitator may be regretting his life choices after getting a taste of his own medicine last night. During the latest riot at the ICE facility, state police were seen on video firing tear gas and smoke bombs in an effort to disperse the protesters. Some cops even charged at agitators on horseback. And they were now these rioters were actually throwing objects at the horses themselves. Not at the cops sitting upon them or standing near them. They were throwing objects at the actual horses. Now that is, assault on an equine law enforcement officer. The animals that are employed in police business are also officers. They are legitimate officers. Just like a canine, etc. Olia Scootercaster then captured footage of a tall agitator wearing a pink belt, showing off the injuries he received after messing with the state troopers. The nasty red mark can be seen on his exposed stomach before he makes a graphic remark. Quote, "They literally shot me through my D," he exclaimed. "Look." Someone said, "Jesus Christ." Ouch. If the agitator was looking for sympathy, he certainly did not find it online. Queen Dodie on X, good, he deserved it. Lisa Treadway Brown, laughing emojis. Trump forever. Put some ice on it, bitch. And this meme. So there you go. Luca on X. What D? If you're a liberal dude, you ain't got one. Gina Milan on X says just simply karma. Right? And here is a poll that they are running with this article. How should police respond when protests at government facilities turn violent? And I'm going to pose that question to you all. You can see how I voted on there is the one in red. I voted to use strong enforcement tactics to quickly end the violence. I was joined by 96.38% of all who took this quiz or this poll. 0.36% said prioritize de-escalation and avoid physical confrontation. 2.54% said make arrests only after clear acts of violence occur. And 0.72% said allow protests to continue unless serious harm is happening. So which of those questions, and I'll leave them on the screen for a few moments, which of those answers would you all choose? Use strong enforcement tactics to quickly end the violence? Prioritize de-escalation and avoid physical confrontation? Make arrests only after clear acts of violence occur? Or allow the protest to continue unless serious harm is happening? Well, yes, they do. Yes, they do. And we have seen the outcome of that. It's not the greatest in the world now, is it? Loaded said, and for the rest of you who may or may not be seeing the chat, these idiots want to send social workers. Right. Who else wants to chime in and let me know what they think? Which one of these answers would you choose? Chime in the chat now and let me know.
Get in the chat now! The country is depending on it!
There you go. Okay. All right, y'all can still vote in the chat, but I am going to move on. This is the end of that article. But I think old dude getting shot in his junk with a less than lethal deterrent, I think it's hilarious. I mean, I'm sorry, maybe that makes me a butthole, but I've never claimed not to be. Okay, also in another article from the Gateway Pundit, we have a horror. An elderly woman brutally stabbed to death in broad daylight on a train in Atlanta, down here in my neck of the woods. Suspect identified and arrested. I think he deserved it too. I really do. Wait a minute. Hang on. I think I can get you to an actual video of it happening. I think there is a link hidden in the text, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, right here. Okay, I'm gonna click on this and share it with you all. Okay, here we go. I am.
They literally shot through my dick. Look. Jesus Christ. Oh, it hurts to laugh.
He said it hurts
Fuck
to
them,
laugh.
fuck them,
Look at that wound on his torso.
They literally shot through my dick. Look. Jesus Christ. It hurts to laugh.
Okay, there is also a video of it actually happening. Let me see if I can locate that. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Let me.
They think they're gonna fucking scare us? We're willing to fuck.
Okay, let me run that back to the beginning so you can see the whole thing. And here we go. And this is him right here with the bullhorn.
And all they can do is fucking shoot us. They think they're gonna fucking scare us? We're willing to fucking die here, right?
They're willing to die, huh?
What do you stand for, huh? What do you stand for? You don't stand for
They're about to not stand.
except for fascism, right? And white supremacy, right? Because that's your literal profession. It's slave catcher. Ah! Ah! Fuck you! Fucking mouth! And all they can do is fucking shoot us. They think they're gonna fucking scare us? We're willing to fucking die here, right? We're willing to fucking die here. What do you stand for, huh?
Yeah, we're willing to die knowing that they're only using less than lethal deterrents.
Except for fascism, right? And white supremacy.
He's a big man.
That's your
You know.
literal profession. It's slave catcher. Ah! Ah! Fuck you! And all they can do is fucking shoot us.
There you go. There you go. All right. And here we are back where we were. And now we're going to move on. That's right. Stupid games, stupid prizes. Absolutely. Fool around and find out. You know, we all know the other version of that, but you know, we'll just say fool around and find out. The more you fool around, the more you're going to find out. The finding out part will be even more harsh the more you fool around. So, anyway, an elder woman brutally stabbed to death in broad daylight on a train in Atlanta. The suspect has been identified and arrested. And now these trains are MARTA trains, Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority. I won't go into what the locals call it. So, an elderly woman has been brutally murdered on an Atlanta train. An evil attack which will bring back heartbreaking memories of a similar killing last year. As Fox 5 Atlanta reported, a woman was stabbed to death on a MARTA train near the Oakland City Station on Saturday, shortly after 12 p.m. A suspect was promptly arrested following the murder, and normal rail operations were temporarily suspended. Yeah, I know what it stands for too. Fox 5 notes that emergency medical workers desperately tried to save the female victim at the scene, but she succumbed to her injuries. MARTA police stated that several bystanders witnessed the brutal murder. MARTA police released the following statement to Fox 5 Atlanta following the attack. This appears to be a senseless act of violence, and our thoughts are with the victims' loved ones and those who witnessed this horrific incident. We understand the concern and fear incidents like this can cause for those who ride and work on the MARTA system. MARTA police are actively investigating and remain committed to the safety and security of our riders and employees. Below is footage of the aftermath of the attack. The alleged perp, who is black, can be seen lying on the ground. And you have right here ATL Scoop on X. Rail service is temporarily suspended at Oakland City. A woman has been stabbed on MARTA. At least 3 witnesses say it was an unprovoked attack. The victim is either deceased or in critical condition, suspect in custody. Oh, wow. Really? Is that true, Elf? I was at the very top #1 slot of the politics page. Wow. And then I dropped to #3. Somebody unseated me, apparently. Wow. Awesome. I'd like to know their metrics that they're using. I wish I could find out what metrics they're using. It could be. It could be that I would love to find out what metrics they're using. That is so interesting that I started out at the #1 slot and now I'm #3. That is so freaking interesting. Yeah, I've been trying to modify my titles and my thumbnails and etc. To hit certain points in the algorithm as best as I can, without being clickbaity or anything. I can't stand that. I hate clickbait. And I know you all do too. So I try to do my best not to be all clickbaity and whatnot. But I mean, isn't that what all creators are trying to do? They're trying to bait you into coming and watching their show. But I try to be as factual as I can with my thumbnails and my titles and everything, while at the same time trying to gear those titles and thumbnails so that, excuse me, so that they'll hit certain points in the algorithm and hopefully raise me up in the algorithm. That is my goal, is to try to get as high up in the algorithm as I can. But anyway, here is the video that was provided. That is the suspect. That's the suspect there. They're trying to keep people away from him. So I'll run that back again. Okay. MARTA Police Chief Scott Craer announced on Sunday that 25-year-old John Elijah Matthews was in the Fulton County Jail as a suspect in the murder. A chilling video later emerged showing the extremely bloody scene of the train following the attack. The victim, who is lying on the ground, appears to be white. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office identified her as 66-year-old Margaret Swan of Atlanta. Keaton Hobby on X, at the real Keaton Hobby, says, warning, extremely graphic, chilling video from the immediate aftermath of a random, unprovoked stabbing on an Atlanta MARTA train at Oakland City Station, May 30th, 2026. A woman was fatally stabbed, suspect arrested on scene. And I'll go ahead and play that for you all. There you go. It was just literally just a few seconds worth of video. This harrowing incident is strikingly similar to the brutal murder of a Ukrainian refugee last year. You remember Irina Zaruska? As the Gateway pundit reported, 23-year-old Irina Zarutska was brutally murdered in August of 2025 by a low-life thug in Charlotte, North Carolina, who had no business walking free to begin with. And that's right, he didn't have any business being free. He should never have been free to roam in the general public or ride on that train. The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department revealed Zarutska suffered multiple stab wounds and was pronounced dead at the East West Boulevard Light Rail Station at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on August 22nd. Police identified 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr. as a person responsible for Zarutska's death. He was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Footage of Brown apparently saying, quote, "I got that white girl," later emerged following the murder. And here's another poll. They seem to like to do these polls at the end of their articles here lately. Should public transit systems increase visible security presence after violent incidents like this MARTA attack? Now, your answer choices are yes, more police and security patrols are needed. No, current security levels are adequate. Or only during peak hours or high risk times. Or focus on preventative measures like mental health and screening instead. Personally, my opinion is yes, more police and security patrols are needed. What do you all think? What answer would you give to this question? I'll read the question again. Should public transit systems like MARTA increase visible security presence after violent incidents like this MARTA attack? Answer yes, more police and security patrols are needed. Or no, current security levels are adequate. Or only during peak hours or high risk times. Or you can answer focus on preventative measures like mental health and screening instead. And I'm going to go ahead and click see the results. And it did that. Let's get back to it so we can see if it showed me the results. Doop. No, it did not. And it did it again. Okay, I don't think it's going to show me the results. Nope, it's not going to show me those results. Okay. Right? Loaded? Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the security levels are not adequate if something brutal like this. You saw the few seconds of video of the actual scene immediately after the incident. That was incredibly brutal. The blood was everywhere. The woman did not survive her injuries. you know I for something like that to occur, obviously security was not adequate. And I'm sorry, mental health evaluations without some sort of guidelines on, uh, commitment or something of that nature, um, are gonna not they're not really gonna do any good. What's gonna do some good is have plenty of security and police on patrol, and and having prosecutors and district attorneys who are not in the pocket of some maniac like George Soros, Neville Singham, or any of the like, and who are not soft on crime. And well, the hate has to stop in general. You know, don't hate the person, hate the thing that they do. As they say. If you know if you must hate, hate the things that people do, such as this person that killed this woman. You know, we hate the activity, we hate the action of killing this woman. And there for these actions there are consequences, and those consequences should most definitely be severe, up to and including the death penalty itself. But hate needs to stop, period. There should be no time when any one particular race is singled out and discriminated against. Oh, it's okay for you to discriminate against this group of people, but not that group, that group, that group, or that group. You know, if you're going to be allowed to discriminate against one group, you should be allowed to discriminate against them all. Such as myself, I am an equal opportunity hater. I don't hate anybody. I hate the things that they do, the actions they take, the things they say, etc. I don't hate the people themselves. I, however, do believe in consequences. If you are going to take an action, you should be willing to accept and take the consequences. Exactly. Look at the thug that killed Austin Metcalf. Precisely. He deserves the most severe consequences that he can be given. I mean, well, if you look at history, generally enemies in war, in a lot of cases, tend to end up being friends. Look, we kicked the butt of the British. We made them turn tail and run, and now we are staunch allies with Great Britain. Now that that alliance is starting to wear thin in recent years because of the actions of Great Britain. But we're still strong allies for now with Great Britain, even after we whoop their tail. So I mean, it happens a lot of times. Um, you'll have a fight with someone, and later on you'll be friends and etc. I later on in my youth, I became friends with a lot of people that I ended up fighting and etc. In actual physical combat. You know, so it happens. But sometimes the disagreement, the war, the battle, whatever the case may be, the fight, sometimes it is necessary. you know um Not that anybody wants it, and not that I would ever promote that, but sometimes it is necessary. you know. Okay, so let us move on to the next article from the Washington Post again. These two seemed to be the ones that were on the ball today. Washington Post, Jim Hoft, and the Gateway Pundit seemed to be the most on the ball today. So up next, no driver, no problem. California finds a way to ticket autonomous vehicles. The self-driving Waymos or what have you. There's no driver, so who are you going to ticket? Well, apparently those uh, uh, shady politicians in California have figured out a way to still issue tickets, even if it's an autonomous vehicle driving itself. And that vehicle that is in the picture is one of Google's self-driving Lexus automobiles. New California regulations on autonomous vehicles go into effect this summer, including one allowing police to issue citations for moving violations by the driverless cars. The California Department of Motor Vehicles said in a release that law enforcement will be able to issue a quote notice of AV non-compliance for moving violations to manufacturers of robotaxis and other autonomous vehicles. The regulation goes into effect on July 1st. The department said in a statement that after a notice is issued, it, quote, will investigate the matter and determine what remediation, if any, is required. If the manufacturer is unable to remediate the issue, the department may restrict, suspend, or revoke the manufacturer's operating permit. according to the New York Times. So obviously, these companies like Waymo or whatever, they have a special permit that allows them to operate their autonomous vehicles within certain perimeters, within certain city limits or what have you, zones that they are permitted to operate within, and those permits can be revoked. So yeah, there's still consequences, even if it's autonomous. The regulation closed a loophole that allowed previous moving violations by autonomous vehicles to go unpunished because there was no driver involved. Quote, because autonomous vehicles do not have a human driver and existing citations must be issued to a licensed person, the law establishes a new mechanism that allows moving violations to be issued to an autonomous vehicle manufacturer. California Department of Motor Vehicles spokesperson Jonathan Groveman told the Los Angeles Times. Manufacturers will also be required, starting July 1st, to give first responders access to manual override systems for their vehicles, establish, quote, two-way communications links within 30 seconds response times with first responders, and allow emergency response officials to tell the companies to get their vehicles out of geofenced areas within 2 minutes in the case of an emergency. Officials also announced the removal of certain weight related restrictions. People will now be able to operate autonomous vehicles weighing more than 5 tons, thereby allowing their use in the freight industry. The vehicles will be required to stop at California Highway Patrol weigh stations, officials said. Universities and other public entities will also be allowed to operate autonomous transit vehicles weighing up to 7 tons, officials said. So, if you have a company that operates autonomous vehicles, you are no longer going to just get away with your vehicles doing whatever they so choose to do, speeding or driving recklessly or whatever the case may be. You are going to have to pay or take care of whatever tickets are issued to your company based on the violations made by your autonomous vehicles. So there is going to be consequences even if the car is driverless. Now, I normally would balk at pretty much anything that comes out of California in the way of laws and policies and etc. But this one actually seems to be not a bad idea. We have seen in the past several years um, numerous incidents involving driverless vehicles where human beings, have been injured. And therefore, I think that not just willy nilly regulation, but, some common sense regulation, may be in order. And if there is no driver to be held responsible, then the company operating the vehicle should be held responsible. Somebody has to be held responsible. And if the if law enforcement can hold the company responsible, then I hear you, man. If law enforcement can hold the company responsible, then so can injured passengers or people injured in some other way by said driverless vehicles can hold the company responsible. And I don't necessarily think that that is a bad thing, until, of course, it will, but until it gets out of hand, when all the legislation and etc. Eventually it will get out of hand, and then something will have to be done in response to that. Oh yeah, yeah. Many of the even iRobot had driverless vehicles. Many of your futuristic uh, movies tend to have driverless vehicles. That seems to be a trope that was predicted a long time ago regarding the so-called future. I don't necessarily know why autonomous vehicles, driverless vehicles, are associated with the future. We have seen autonomous vehicles of a sort numerous times in the past. Um, but yeah, there was a person who was sending their dog to another location in their Tesla, and the Tesla got pulled over with the dog sitting in the driver's seat. It wasn't attempting to operate the vehicle. It wouldn't have done any good. But the law enforcement didn't know how to handle that. It was a situation where, do you give the dog the ticket or what? Ultimately, the owner communicated through the communication system in the Tesla with the officer, and everything was cleared up, and no dogs were ticketed that day. Yeah, no dogs were ticketed that day because the owner communicated with law enforcement through the communication system. I believe it's the phone system in the car. Alerted the owner that the car had been pulled over, and so he contacted them through the phone in the car, and spoke to them and got it all cleared up. And no dogs received any tickets that day. The dog was still a good boy. So anyway, let's head on to our next article, up for your consideration. Um, well, it kind of is. Lazy parents going to send their kids in a driverless car. Yeah, and that it has been the case many times before as well. Um, Parents, putting their kids in the Tesla, and telling the Tesla to take the kids to the grandparents' house, and that is most definitely the parents just being lazy. Uh, yeah, and it was that dog owner's uh, laziness that caused the situation that day. So, our next article for your consideration is this one. Missing scientist and nuclear lab employee found dead in New Mexico forest as the shocking circumstances surrounding her disappearance are revealed. I agree, Loaded. I most definitely agree with that sentiment. Um, Absolutely, 100%. Um, and you all will remember that I've been reporting along as more information comes available about the high level scientists and etc. that are going missing and being found dead and etc. Um, well, here we have one whose body was apparently found in Mexico forest. So this is updated information. And this is the missing scientist, Melissa Cassius. She was discovered dead last week after disappearing almost a year ago in mysterious circumstances. And this picture comes from her Facebook uh, account. A missing scientist has been discovered dead in a New Mexico. Oh, excuse me, y'all. In a New Mexico forest. But that is just the beginning of a more harrowing and stunning story. As the Daily Mail reported on Monday, New Mexico State Police announced that they identified the remains of 54-year-old Melissa Cassius, a scientist and nuclear lab employee who worked as an administrative assistant at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. The Office of the Medical Investigator in New Mexico has not yet determined the cause of her death. Cassius was last seen alive on June 26, 2025. Her body was found in the McGaffey Ridge area of the Carson National Forest. Um, this is about 6 miles from the last place Cassia was seen walking before being declared missing. And what was that, Elf? Yes, the Teslas can detect a police vehicle pulling them over. Um, and yes, the Teslas will communicate with the officers. Um, and that would kind of be funny. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yes, the Teslas can communicate with the officers. The vehicles do they do know the difference. They do know that it is a police vehicle pulling them over. Absolutely. Um, the AI that operates them is trained in such things. So yeah, that is a fact. Um, it's unknown how long Cassia's body was in the forest before it was found, but it's surprising it took this long because this is a part of a U.S. Forest Service restoration project where crews have been working consistently since December of 2025. Cassia's disappearance and death are also quite alarming. The Mail notes that she previously left all records from her phones. She had more than one phone. Left her identification behind and vanished last June. Sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller. What was going on? From the Daily Mail, Cassius vanished after dropping off her husband, another LANL employee, at the facility that June morning, approximately 70 miles from their home. That was when Cassius' behavior, allegedly became unusual, as she claimed she would need to return home after forgetting the badge needed to access the nuclear lab. According to her husband, Mark, a superintendent at the lab, Cassius had the security badge with her when she dropped him off that morning, as she would have needed the badge to get past the security checkpoints. When Cassia arrived in Ranchos de Taos, the couple's daughter, Sierra, reportedly told investigators that her mother visited the teen's place of work to drop off a sandwich and then said she planned to work from home after forgetting the badge needed to access the nuclear lab. The wife and mother then wiped all records from her phones before leaving them and her identification behind and walking out of her home in Ranchos de Taos. Here is a surveillance screenshot of Cassius walking alone in New Mexico after dropping off her husband at work at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. And there she is walking down the sidewalk, apparently. Don't know what that is in her hand there, but and she appears to have something in her other hand as well. Former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker told the Daily Mail in March that he thought Cassius' disappearance was part of a bigger pattern involving individuals who had access to top secret government research. Swecker theorized that Cassia's work at LANL made her a target for abduction. The reason is that an administrative assistant often has access to the same sensitive files as their superiors. Quote, in a classified lab or just a high clearance lab, it would basically be in the know on what's going on, Swecker explained, and it wouldn't be the first time their administrative assistant has been targeted. As the Gateway Pundit reported, a troubling pattern drew scrutiny after the mysterious deaths of scientists tied to America's most sensitive space and defense programs. Up to 11 have been discovered missing or dead. In fact, prominent UFO researcher, Ancient Aliens personality, and best-selling author David Wilcock was found dead last month in an apparent suicide outside his home in Boulder County, Colorado. He had just 2 days earlier posted a video warning about how it's, quote, scary that scientists are going missing and that he was not suicidal. The FBI, under Director Kash Patel, has launched a major investigation into the mysterious deaths and disappearances of at least 11 high-level U.S. scientists with access to classified information in nuclear, aerospace, propulsion, missile technology, and UAP-related programs. President Donald Trump has publicly stated the White House is looking into the cases, describing the string of incidents as highly suspicious. And it is highly suspicious. Right? Right? Another poll. Here we go. What do you think the most likely explanation for Melissa Cassius' disappearance and death is? Um, first option, she was the victim of a random crime or accident. Or number two, her death was connected to her work, excuse me, at the nuclear lab. Her death was connected to her work at the nuclear lab. Or number three, she chose to disappear and met a tragic end alone. Or number four, the circumstances remain too unclear to draw conclusions. What do you think is the actual case? What do you think is the most likely explanation for Melissa Cassius' disappearance and death? She was the victim of a random crime. Her death is connected to her work. She chose to disappear and met a tragic end alone. Or these circumstances are just too unclear for a conclusion. I don't know if this one will allow me to see the results or not. I'm going to try and see if it will tell me how people voted online. There we go. It worked that time. Amazing. Okay. Well, the most common answer was her death was connected to her work at the nuclear lab, 71.21%. The second most common answer was circumstances remain too unclear to draw conclusions, with 22.73%. The next, well, actually, there is no next because the last two tie perfectly even at each of them having 3.03% of she chose to disappear and met a tragic end alone, and she was the victim of a random crime or accident. Both of those got 3.03%. And so, what do you all think? Was she a victim of a random crime? Was her death connected to her work? Did she choose to disappear? She just willingly disappeared and somehow met her end? Or is it just too unclear right now to even come up with an answer? What say you all? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next article. And you all can come up with your answer to that question. What do you think is the most likely explanation for Melissa Cassius' disappearance and death? And let me know in that chat. By the way, you all who are watching on the replay, where it's not live, you can get involved as well. Leave your answer in the comment section below. I do read those comments. So, let me know what you think as well, those of you who are watching on the replay. Okay. Get this ad out of the way. All right. So, up next, a meteor causes a loud boom as it enters the atmosphere and breaks apart over New England. What you should know: a meteor caused a loud boom across the East Coast on Saturday. The explosion occurred just north of Boston around 2:10 p.m. The American Meteor Society identified the meteor as roughly 3 feet wide, so not very big at all. Just a small little meteor. And I'm sure when it broke apart and caused the loud boom, I'm sure that it, for the most part, vaporized, but there may have been a few little rocks here and there. And NASA has confirmed that it was a daytime bolide, a bright exploding meteor. So it exploded with a bright flash of light, an actual explosion. So a meteor caused a loud boom that was heard across much of the East Coast on Saturday when it entered the atmosphere and exploded just north of Boston, news outlets are reporting. The boom shook buildings in the Massachusetts and Rhode Island area around 2:10 p.m. The American Meteor Society identified the source as a roughly 3 foot wide meteor that entered the atmosphere near the Massachusetts New Hampshire border and broke apart. Now, okay, NASA has confirmed it was a daytime bolide, which is a bright exploding meteor. The space agency said the energy released in the meteor's breakup was equivalent to about 300 tons of TNT. That's a big explosion. The meteor landed in Massachusetts, Cape Cod Bay. So it landed in the water. It didn't impact anywhere on the ground. People from Canada to the southern U.S. reported hearing the boom, and some even felt the ground shake. Some reported seeing the fireball streak across the sky. It is unlikely that any fragments of the meteorite will be recovered since it landed in the ocean. So there you go. Um, Meteors actually enter the atmosphere. Um, they venture too close and they come down into our atmosphere and either impact or break apart on entry, or some of them just completely burn up in the atmosphere due to the extreme heat and friction. So I mean, a lot of times the Earth is bombarded by meteors all the time. Um, Asteroids generally are only bombarded by each other. Or by us shooting things at them. But yeah, the Earth is bombarded by meteors constantly, most of which burn up in the atmosphere due to the intense heat and friction. Some actually make it through, and they tend to further break up once they make it through. They break apart, and um, sometimes you might find a small piece of meteorite or something of that nature. But generally, when they do break up, they uh, generally mostly turn to dust. You know, again because of the extreme friction of the atmosphere of the air moving past. Right, right. And I believe there was an announcement not long ago that there are plans to change the recipe to eliminate those things as well. I don't know if it's actually taken effect yet, but the only reason I even got these, and I'm not going to waste the money. The only reason I even got these Mountain Dews is because, and I got screwed. I ordered a 12 pack of the cans because it was a special can for the 250th anniversary of America, and I was going to put a couple of the cans on my shelf behind me, and that's the whole reason I ordered them was for that special can. Well, um, got notification as it was on the way that they had to substitute because the special cans were not available. They had to substitute and gave me these 16.9-ounce bottles of Mountain Dew that did not have the special labeling. They had the normal zero sugar Mountain Dew labeling. And so I ended up getting stuck with them. And like I said, I'm not going to waste that money, even though, my original reasoning for buying them was to get the special can to put on my shelf behind me. So yeah, they were doing a special can to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America, and I was hoping to get one of those cans for display. So I'm going to drink these and be done with them, and then go back to as per my normal. You see, uh, I have ice cold water sitting right here. I am not solely drinking soda. Sodas for me are a occasional treat. So I'm not bombarding my body with the yellow number 5 and aspartame and all the bad crap. It is just an occasional treat. Just like, I'm diabetic, occasionally some ice cream is in order. Yeah, and of course I get the sugar free or no sugar added, and but it's still an occasional treat. Occasionally we have to have, a little special something, even though it's not something that we normally eat or drink or have or whatever. It is a good thing to, allow yourself the freedom to have, something special as a treat every now and then. Um, it'll and it actually doing that actually helps with sticking to certain specific diets, which I do. So having the occasional treat or so-called splurge day allows you to easier stick to those diets. It kind of gives you something to work towards. um, Besides whatever your ultimate goal is. So I figured I would include this story to ease because uh, I've been seeing how people have been disturbed by the large explosion caused by the meteor coming into the atmosphere and breaking up. Um, many, many moons ago, there was a similar explosion of a much larger meteor um, over a part of the former Soviet Union, um, that actually leveled an entire forest. And the explosion happened way up in the air. I mean, extremely high in the atmosphere. When the explosion happened, the shock wave was so strong, it leveled an entire forest. So, I think that New Englanders and East Coast uh, people should be happy that it was not one of those. And the debris from the breaking meteor landed in the water and did not mess up anybody's home or put a big hole in someone's body. You know, I have heard of so many stories of objects, meteorites, etc., falling from the sky and taking someone out, or um, destroying someone's roof uh, and the floor, and furniture, and etc. Sometimes, I mean, way back in the olden times, in ancient times, um, meteors would get blamed for plagues, and they were considered a bad omen and all of that. And some some scholars, biblical scholars, believe that meteors actually feature quite prominently in the end times in the Bible. Not all cater to that idea, but there are quite a number that actually believe that meteors fit in very prominently in the end times, uh, as recorded in the prophecies in the Bible. Um, so yeah, in ancient, like I said, in ancient times, it was considered a bad sign, and meteors were thought to bring plagues and famines and things like that when they came. Um, and on the converse of that, on the flip side of that, they were also highly prized for metallurgy. There were metal compounds within the meteors that could be forged and make various items, especially weapons. They were extremely hard as compared to the metals that they had in those days. Um, metallurgy was, a growing science. You know, only a few skilled individuals could really work metal significantly. And meteorites, when they did impact, and there was actually something left, were actually highly sought after and prized for their metal compounds found within the meteorites. They were also, in some instances, were revered as holy objects. You know, um, that kind of thing. So, you know, meteorites have been all over the spectrum as far as beliefs and superstitions and etc., mysticism and whatnot. So, yeah. It all really depends on what part of the world you're from, or you know, what philosophies and ideologies and etc. you cater to, as to what you would have uh, considered a meteor as. Uh, and by that same token as well, comets, visible asteroids, flying past the Earth, etc. All have been considered, various different types of signs and omens throughout the ages. Yeah, so, take that for what you will. Okay, and in this story, I have a lawsuit. Florida sues OpenAI and its CEO, Sam Altman. The AG says the company concealed serious risks of Chat GPT. And that is in that picture there, Sam Altman. In Miami, the state of Florida filed a lawsuit against OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman on Monday, today, claiming the company knowingly released and aggressively marketed ChatGPT to the public while concealing serious risks. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer said during a news conference that the company suppressed internal safety warnings and deceived users about the true nature and dangers of the product. Quote, today we announce in the first in the nation state-led lawsuit against OpenAI and its CEO, Sam Altman, Uthmeyer said, quote, OpenAI and Altman ignored internal and external safety warnings, put children at great risk, and allowed a dangerous product to reach millions of Floridians. The civil complaint filed in the Florida Circuit Court alleges that OpenAI and Altman prioritized speed to market and commercial gain over user safety and disregarded repeated warnings from experts both inside and outside the company. The lawsuit claims that the company deployed a product that facilitates and encourages harm. Say that again, a product that facilitates and encourages harm, including self harm and violence, while falsely assuring users it was safe. The complaint also alleges that ChatGPT collects data from minors without meaningful parental oversight, as well as causes behavioral addiction and cognitive harm. The company has also actively downplayed dangerous errors, the suit said. Florida law prohibits unfair and defective trade practices, officials said. The complaint alleges that OpenAI's conduct causes ongoing harm to Floridians and demands accountability. OpenAI didn't immediately respond to an email seeking comment from the Associated Press. In April, Uthmeyer opened a criminal investigation into OpenAI over whether ChatGPT offered advice to a gunman who killed 2 people and wounded 6 others last year at Florida State University. And in another case, prosecutors have said the man charged with killing 2 University of South Florida doctoral students had asked ChatGPT what would happen if a human body was put in a garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster days before they went missing. And that is the end of that story. Now, I have heard of cases, recently, in the recent past, of ChatGPT suggesting suicide, ChatGPT giving detailed instructions on various harmful activities, such as bomb making and various other activities that could bring harm to the user as well as members of the general public, um, and other harmful activities engaged in by the open AI product. And I've said many times that although I don't advocate for increased government, I prefer minimal government. Sometimes government intervention is necessary. Sometimes regulations are necessary. I personally think that AI is one of those things that should 100% be regulated by the government. And there should be significant parameters under which um, uh, um, rules and consequences are defined. And those consequences should be severe enough to change the behavior, to change the way these things are operated, the way they are programmed, the way they are taught, because AI has to be taught. Um, and the way they are released out to the public, and etc. All this needs to be addressed, and certain parameters be put in place for all of these various different things. And one of the things is no detailed instructions on how to build a bomb, no detailed instructions on how to commit suicide, no encouragement to do so of either of those. And yes, I did load it. I neglected to mention that when I saw you coming into the chat. I did actually review the pizza that I made from the kit that you sent me um, on Saturday on Shoot the Breeze, and it was very good, and um, I give it I nothing is perfect, so I never ever give a 10 out of 10, but I would say it got a 9 out of 10. And nothing is ever perfect, so 10 out of 10 would be perfect. So I would give it a 9 out of 10, and absolutely will make it again. So absolutely, I enjoyed that pizza, and it, for the most part, passed with flying colors most of my criteria for a good pizza. So there you go, loaded. I as I told you, I would review it on air, and I did. I just wish you could have been on there on that episode um, to have actually heard it firsthand. But you can always go back and watch the replay. That is on both my YouTube and my Rumble channels. So you can always go check it out and see exactly what I did and said. So, so what say you all about the situation with um, the state of Florida versus OpenAI and Sam Altman? Yes, we did. We used ingredients from our garden on the pizza itself, and everything fresh, everything locally sourced. You know, as I generally do with most of my food. Me and Marilyn, we don't like ultra processed and all of that. We don't like getting all the pesticides. I don't use any pesticide on any of our plants that are vegetables that we're growing, at all whatsoever. Um, so and I don't have a problem with any type of worms or bugs. So but yeah, absolutely. Our pizza was very good. In fact, Marilyn took the last two pieces to work with her today for her lunch or dinner, whatever you want to call it. We don't have a Sprouts in our area. I don't even know where the nearest one is. Hank's Jardiniera. I have to look into that. Oh, excuse me, y'all. Didn't mean to cough in y'all's ear. Mm. There are lots of uh, different types of that, but I don't see that particular brand. But this is at retail locations near me. Right, right. Well, I personally like hot stuff. Marilyn, she can't handle hot stuff, the way I can. Um, she's getting better about it. She's getting better about it. She's starting to kind of get used to a little bit hotter than her normal. Um, Okay, I do have the website here for Hanks. We do a lot of pickling of varying different vegetables and stuff ourselves. So we may have a blend, something similar to Hank's. I'll have to check into their. Yeah, milk kind of helps with the heat a little bit. Um, I'll have to check into their recipe and see if it's anything similar to any of the things that we make. Mm. So has a special spice blend that's not uh, disclosed. I could probably taste it once or twice and tell you what's in it. So, but anyway, um, with that, being said, that was the last article I had prepared for you all, and I am going to go ahead and we've been going for over 2 hours. I am going to go ahead and call it a show, and I'm going to see if I can check in on James from Empty Pockets Podcast, see how he is doing, or if he is still in uh, the doctor's office, whatever, because he said that they would probably admit him into the hospital and do a bunch of tests. He said that was generally their MO, the way they did things. So I'll have to see if I can get any information and what have you on his current condition and what the doctors are saying, etc., so that I can keep you all up to date. You know, um, but with that being said, I do want to thank you all for coming and hanging out with me and watching uh, Big Tony Speaks. And that's without you all, this show wouldn't exist. So I am incredibly appreciative and humbled that you would spend your time with me when there are so many thousands of other podcasts that you could be watching. Um, so I thank you so much. I wish God's blessings upon you and upon this great nation. Lord knows this country needs it. Do me a favor, go down below and hit that thumbs up, that like button, whatever you want to call it. And if you're not already following the channel, please do hit that follow button or subscribe button, whatever you see on your platform, and turn on those notifications so you know when I'm on, which, by the way, is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. And plenty of opportunities for you to see this smiling face and hear Big Tony speak. And just always remember, Big Tony will speak on it. And I hope you all have a great night, and I will see you all next time. Y'all have a great one. This is Big Tony out. Later on.
Here comes Tony Walking in the room, mic in hand, something's about to boom. Tell me what you gotta say. Tell me, make it count today. Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks. Sit right down, let me hear your voice. Share your thoughts, Tony gives you choice. Tell me